Many of you may know 365 days ago. Let's say it like this. 366 days ago, I was sitting in my 5,000-ish plus square foot office. I had that office for over 5 years, and 365 days ago was when I moved out. Now, I can tell you that basically I had negotiated terms to get out of my lease 4 months before that. So I knew it was happening. I was preparing for it, and it was there. But as the year has gone on, this year has gone on, I've realized, wow, we're getting closer to a year that I've been out of my office. So just a quick recap of like what it was. So like 5,000 square feet. I housed a couple of businesses. I was not a co-working space in any kind of respect, but there was definitely a handful of businesses, probably as up to, 14 or 15 businesses at one point. I housed Hatch out of there. We did thousands of events out of there. It was just an all-around good time, and did it for 5+ years. But what I recognized probably 2 or 3 years into it was that the space, while doing well and was doing what we were trying to do with it, it wasn't actually what I wanted to be doing. I was tied specifically to some, let's just call them boundaries, and I thought I could be doing more, and I wanted to. And so it had been looking for ways to find a different space, maybe different ways to do what we were doing. And I remember just thinking back, recently, that it was something that I guess was maybe a risk to get out of the space. But what's crazy is we're a year later, and a lot of people still think we have this space. And so it was in a downtown area where I live, and it was fun. A lot of people knew about it, but I felt like it was all about four walls instead of actually. So there was always this thing in the back of my mind where it was always about four walls. And while those four walls are important, I feel like when I was trying to grow the business bigger, a lot of the individuals would put would say, oh, it's basically this thing that's in four walls. And I'm like, no, we're a lot bigger than that. We're a movement, right? And so when we moved out, we told the businesses, hey, you got to move out too. Everyone found spaces. There's kind of like this thing called the Hatch effect, where when you move out, you end up doing like amazing afterwards. And so most businesses that have moved out did like 3 to 4 times the amount of revenue afterwards, because I think they could just focus on, not paying as much revenue to work out of there. And there was less of a co-working feel, I guess, even though it wasn't a co-working space. My point is this, though, is that it's been a year today. August 15th, 2017 is when I moved out. It's now August 15th, 2018. A year later, how are things? What's crazy is a lot's happened in the last year. A lot of things that, some were prepared. Obviously, I got married in the last year. Some I wasn't prepared for. Kind of the book and changing, working out, things like that. But then there's so many other things that happen a year later. And so I'm constantly talking about reflecting. I'm constantly talking about why it's good to look back and see where you've grown, because we often forget to look back at those scenarios. And so I really enjoyed my 5+ years, 1,600+ days, having a really large office, a big footprint. But it was time to move on. And as I've talked about retiring many times, this was another thing that I just retired. I didn't need a physical space. I've been building everything online. I was meeting with clients online, on Skype, in person, wherever I needed to. And so it was unnecessary to have this space. And so I remember there was bets like, how quickly does Zack get another space afterwards? Some people said a month. Some people said, a few months. Well, it's a year, still haven't done it, and honestly, probably will never do it again. It's just unnecessary. Now, I guess things could change, so you never say never, but it's not in my mind, and I have no interest in doing it right now. What's interesting is I said I'm going to give myself towards the end of the year. I just wanted to change something up. When you go somewhere and do the exact same thing for 5 years plus, You pull into the same garage, you walk your dog into the same place, and you do basically the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes you get sick of it. No, don't take the sick of it as the wrong way. I loved meeting with the people there. I love having the conversations with people. But sometimes, in the back of your mind, you want to change things up a little bit. I just finished a book on habits. It's changing that habit up, and so that's exactly what I did. So what's cool about it is 365 days later, I think I'm an incredibly fortunate person. I think I'm incredibly in a different spot in my life now, all for the better. And I think a lot of it had to do with removing certain things off my back. And so when I wanted to grow and the creative juices flowing, I felt that when I could get out of that space, that was going to allow me to do it. It took me 4 to 5 months to probably do that and then really get into my stride within the last 3 months. However, I know that when I look back in 12 months from now, I'm going to be like, wow, we're at 24 months now, and I'm really glad that I did that. And so here's what I want you to be thinking about. Is there, and I'm going to use this term lightly, is there something holding you back? Is there a cancer on your back? Is there a big, if you've seen there's a zit lady that pops zits, the pimple popper. She has her own show now where she's pulling out like growth. Is there a growth on your back that is holding you back from achieving what you want? Oftentimes there is, but we're too afraid to get rid of that. So what can you do to radically get rid of that pain, that thing on your back, that cancer, that wart, that whatever it is, just chilling on your back so you can't move, the bag of bricks. Now, I'm not saying all those things are a bag of bricks, but a lot of the things that I had been internally wanting to do, it was hard for me to do because I was so tied to the things that I had to do at 111 Granby Street. And so, looking back now, I realized that by retiring certain things, by removing the bricks off my back, removing the piece off my back, I'm able to work more directly with people. I'm able to not stress about certain things. I mean, like, oh, the toilet overflowed and it's 3 a.m. and someone forgot to lock the door. Playing landlord is never fun. And so those are some of the things that I had to go through during it. But the thing is this. At the end of the day, make a decision. And whatever happens, happens. Most likely you'll be okay. In this case, a year later, I can probably tell you, I'm thinking of all the companies I can think of that were in there, are all doing tremendously better now that they're out, right? And I think that's because they have to think about their finances in a little different ways. Oftentimes when you pay for something, you're more willing to do that. So when you got to pay more money for rent somewhere else, good things happen. They're able to focus more. There's less of the co-working kind of collaboration feel, so they're solely focused on their businesses. And I'm the same way. Super focused and not having to worry, I use that word lightly, about others when I could focus on my business. And so if you're thinking about removing something, if you're thinking about retiring something, maybe you should just start doing it. Obviously, don't put yourself in a financial ramification that's going to be tragic to you. But 365 days, I look back, 365 days later, I look back, and it was a heck of a decision. It was the right decision. And I think you could look at 365 days before that year and realize that I probably made some dramatically amazing decision. You probably did too. So constantly be reflecting and figure out what you can remove from your life that will make you stronger. For me, it was a 5,000 square foot office. Now I don't have to deal with that. I got just Hatch HQ here. But I want to recommend to you to start looking at retiring things, getting rid of things that are holding you back. Because at the end of the day, you could look at 365 days later and be like, wow, I'm glad I made that decision because now I'm in a heck of a lot better position. So think about retiring, figure out what's holding you back, and remove it. Peace and love, and 365 days later, you'll be happy that you did it. Have a great day.